Live stream and well, the recording
Live
happens.
stream is on.
All right, welcome people to our August meetup, online meetup. We see some light at the end of the tunnel because our friends. I had met up with my close friends in a sort of a sanitized pub, which had very few people in it. So let's see what happens next month. But we see light at the end of the tunnel. Something happening. Let's see how it goes. Anyway, today's topic is cold feet. That was a topic which suggested by Sarayu. Hopefully, she joins us later. And Saras was kind enough to volunteer for hosting this meetup. So let's see how many people join up. But I'm always happy. We have the the basics. We have 5 people, and that's always said was good enough for a poetry meetup. With that, it's my pleasure to hand over to Saras and to take it away from there. Saras,
Thank,
the mic is
thank,
yours.
thank you, Rajiv. So welcome everyone to this meeting on the 28th of August 2021. As Rajiv said, the topic for today is cold feet. And at the moment, with only 5 or 6 of us here, it looks like some of us have had cold feet. But it's an interesting topic because I think almost everybody has experienced cold feet at some point or the other in their life. So it's something to it's something that I think most of us can, think about and write about. I certainly have had my share of cold feet, and it's reflected in some of my songs. So maybe I'll share one of those tonight. And with that, without much more ado, let me start off. Let me just give a couple of house rules while somebody else is giving reciting a poem. If the others would make sure that their microphones are switched off, so that we don't have noise coming through, that would be lovely. And with that, let me start with the people I see on my screen. Yeah. Jasbir, you're first on my screen. Would you like to start off?
And Cyrus just wanted to add that please put your comments on the chat box. Somebody will be watching, especially if you want to make a comment or want to go early or anything. Back to you, Jasbir.
Rajiv, will you watch the chat box?
Yeah, I'll watch the chat box.
All right. Very good.
Okay, thank you so much. And I've had, like what Sarah said, several instances of cold feet, and here I begin. Cold feet. For me, many times are cold feet times. Like when I want to punch the man on his face. Retorting with barb to an odious idea, or give it back in a volley of words to a religious or politics fanatic, or to speak out in support of the weak, or to rattle out against the atrocities in the society, or to talk vociferously against the dogmatic stance of the people. I feel like tearing them to shreds with my replies starched, and yet I don't. Why? Because I get cold feet. I know my 1 minute feet would soon be my defeat. I'd be torn to sheets in as much as I can teach and take it as my treat. If I berate or beat, I'll be made a mincemeat. I guess My cold feet is way neat, an attempt to keep my mind with peace and prim, and seal my lips with a silly grin. Thank you.
Nice one. I think you have encapsulated cold feet very well. I'm sure lots of us have shared that experience of wanting to say something or do something and then thought better of it. Maybe we didn't call it cold feet at that point of time, and gave it a more palatable name. But yes,
No, but I disagree. I do call it cold feet because see, there's so many discussions which go on. See, in politics or religion or your ideology. I certainly like to put in a word and tear it to shreds. But I feel that what's a great fun. I mean, that cold feet thing comes in and you feel forget it. Who's going to? Let's not lose sleep on this silly thing. So.
yeah. So you rationalized it by saying let's not lose sleep over silly things, and therefore given your cold feet a break. You're on mute, Jaspreet.
Just be a
Jaspreet,
government. Just
you're
be.
on mute.
What I feel is, see, the cold feet is that you don't know what the reaction will be. Actually, there's so many times you feel like, just giving it back, but then you're scared that what will happen. Suppose if I have to talk about, say, a religious sentiment, or I have to talk about politics, and you are the fan of the other party, and I'm shit scared tomorrow you'll come with a big thing against me. That's the cold. Actually, it's
Yeah.
cold feet. It's not that you're absolutely, you're ready to give it left, right, and center, and then you
Yeah,
sort of.
I agree. I agree. That's cold feet. Well defined. Thank you, Jaspreet. All right. Next on my screen, I've got Sheena. Sheena, you're on mute.
Yep, I've unmuted now.
Very good.
Okay. So this is my poem on cold feet. There is many a time I wished I had colder feet. Oh, the trouble I could have avoided if only my feet had less heat. My feet took me down to the seashore, the sun-warmed sand beneath my toes, the flashing smile, the curly hair, the straight angular line of his nose. Our footprints so close together, in curving lines broken by surf. Oh, had my feet been colder, I might have been more alert. I sat on the rocks broken-hearted, wondering how I would find my way home. But the sun was warm on the soles of my feet, and I was tempted again to roam. I'm older, but somehow no wiser, though I feel a chill in my veins. These feet of mine still want to tap and dance and take to the road again. There's a world out there to discover. Have no fear of wandering around. There are people to meet and places to see. Don't let cold feet keep you housebound. If your feet are too cold to wander, if you fear getting out of your box, take my advice. Don't think twice. Get yourself some good thermal socks. One day, my feet will be stone cold. On that day, I will wonder no more. But the flame of a funeral pyre will heat them up once more. Then I'll wander through realms unknown. The fires of hell may well scorch my feet, but the heat of my soles will lift up my soul, and my adventure will be complete.
Wow,
Wow.
that was
That
wonderful.
was brilliant.
Awesome. Brilliant,
Absolutely.
Sheena. Very nice. Beautiful.
Thank you very, very much.
Wow, and I love
Very nice.
the way you moved out
Yeah.
of the cold feet into the warm feet and said, if only my feet hadn't been so warm.
Yeah.
There
Wonderful.
was such a
What a
wonderful flow to the poem, It was really flowing well.
Thank you
And
so much.
And as a songwriter, I appreciate your meter. The
Yes.
the meter to your
Share a meter. Yeah.
it is spot on.
If you ever
Yeah.
want to put it to music, feel free.
Yes, it
That's
could.
good.
Cyrus, seriously, it has a rhythm to it. and
Age
in a
was
different way. So think about it. You know.
age was song ready. Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yes.
wonderful. You know, from where you started, brilliant, absolutely.
Think about it. It's almost
Wonderfully well.
it is almost a Bob Dylanish verse. Also, the verses are almost Bob Dylanish.
Thank you. Wow,
yeah.
that's high praise indeed. Poet laureate and all. Nobel laureate and everything.
Well,
It was brilliant. Really brilliant. Lovely.
lovely
Thank
poem.
you. Thank you, Sheena. That was
Mom
Thank
would
you.
feel so proud, you know.
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, your mom, Sasyakal, do you understand Punjabi, by the way?
Do you speak Punjabi?
Yeah, I do.
Ah,
Yes,
they,
fluently.
fluently. Oh, मैं सोचा सी कि fluently थे. There, excuse me, folks. There are a few Punjabis on her. I want to make her feel welcome. Gunika is Punjabi. Jasbir is Punjabi. So Vinodji is Punjabi. But I think Gunika, Jasbir, would you like to welcome Sheena's mom with some choice Punjabi phrases?
Yeah, because Rajiv is not the right one to speak.
I'm not the right one to speak.
Really?
Well,
But,
जी आया हूँ. That's
बड़ा
why.
ग्रुप
जी
च
आया हूँ.
बहुत बहुत
That's
स्वागत
very
है
welcome.
बड़ा साडे ग्रुप च बहुत बहुत स्वागत हैगा है सानू बड़ी खुशी हुई है ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਵੇਖ ਕੇ ਇੱਥੇ
Okay, thank you. मैंने पूछा मेरी डॉक्टर ने what is the equivalent of cold feet in Punjabi? I said हाथ पैर ठंडे हो गए.
आज बिल्कुल हाथ पैर ठंडे हो गए सही गल है I know
You know,
true
I mean, when I was young, my Masi, I mean, you are from Pakistan actually, Sargodha area, Lahore area, and
My mom, I'm also from there.
oh really? Because my mom was from Lahore. She grew up in Lahore, and only after partition she came over. My dad is from Sargodha, and I remember going to their house, and they used to have lovely Punjabi poets. Oh, East Punjab poetry is Punjabi is quite different than the West Punjab poetry, and Lehza be different on that. It was. I still am looking forward to a good Punjabi poem from this group. I will keep on encouraging people, of Punjabi origin. Amrita Pritam di de sun lendi asi kadi kadi. But a good Punjabi poem would always be welcome. That's my wish. At some
I'm
time or the
I'm going to persuade my mom to write.
I will think about it.
Yes.
Yes, that will be very nice.
Thank you.
Back to you, Saras.
Thank you. And thanks again, Sheena. That was
You're
wonderful.
welcome. Thank you.
Right. Rajiv, do you want to come up next? You're on my screen.
Okay, so I'm gonna. Oh man, can I go next because
You just lost something.
because my computer gave me a warning my battery is running low, so I need to
Alright.
go and switch it. So I'll go next if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely. Vinodji, would you like to take up the next slot then?
Yeah, I have nothing special to contribute today, but I have some comments on cold feet.
Okay.
There was somebody asking Punjabi which ki kende. So sap suk gaya. Sap suk gaya. You suddenly go dead. Jinda sap suk gaya. So that is the equivalent in Punjabi, I believe. But मैं सोच रहा था कि हमारी mythology में I think Arjun is the most discussed fellow who developed cold feet, going all the way to Kurukshetra and then refusing to fight. So I said, उसके cold feet से पूरी गीता create हो गई. पूरा बिजनेस बन गया गीता का बेचने का और गीता को सुनाने का. That's a great contribution of a cold feet fellow. I think I tried to write a few lines, but it doesn't come out well without leaving Krishna out. Just talking about Arjun is not so feasible. Both are so interwoven in all their dealings and everything. And I thought pushing in Gita's and Krishna's words into poetry will be beyond me and offensive to some. So I resisted. I wrote a bit and then I just left it. Then I developed the cold feet after it was done. So that's all I wanted to say today. And thank you very much.
Very insightful. It was really good. I mean,
That was great.
yeah, what an angle. Like, because of the cold feet that Arjun had or developed, we have this entire great text with us. Wow.
Rajiv, I think you missed this. It was a brilliant angle on cold feet from Vinodji, saying that when Arjun was the guy who had the coldest feet going, he went all the way to the Battle of Kurukshetra. Yeah, and then developed cold feet. Rajiv, you are on mute. We can't hear you.
Harsh wanted to say something. Harsh, you raised your hand.
No, actually, I just raised it. It was an error. Sorry for that.
Achha, okay, all right. Okay,
All right. So, are you up and running, Rajiv?
yeah, I'm sorry. I just yes, all is good now. I lost everybody for a bit. Okay, so here's a poem by my favorite poet of the year, Simon Armitage, who's also the poet laureate of UK nowadays. And I was reading his poem, and here's about how not to get cold feet. And the poem is called where's it gone? Aviators. The poem is called Aviators. Here we go. They had overbooked the plane. At this moment in time, they had overbooked the plane. At this moment in time, announced the agent at the counter, Rainbow Airlines is offering £100 or a free return flight to any passenger willing to stand down. A small man in a cheap suit and a Bart Simpson socks scratched his ankle. £150, she announced 15 minutes later. Nobody moved. 200. From nowhere, this neat-looking chap in a blue flannel jacket and shiny shoes loomed over the desk and said, "I will take the money." "But you're the pilot," she said, and then added, "Sir." As if she had walked into a Japanese house and forgotten to take off her shoes. The pilot whispered, "Listen, I need the money. I'm behind my mortgage payments because my wife's a gambler. I got 2 sons at the Naval College. The hats alone cost a small fortune, and I'm being blackmailed by a pimp in Stockport. Let me take the 200. You would be saving my life." I had been sitting within earshot next to the stand-up ashtray. "Give him the money," I said. "Who are you?" asked Dorothy. She was wearing a plastic name badge with gold letters. "Dorothy, I am George," I said, and clearly this man's in pain. I don't want him going all gooey midway over the English Channel. I once heard sobbing coming from the cabin of a jumbo jet at 33,000 feet, and it sounded like the laughter of Beelzebub. "But who will fly the plane?" she wanted to know. "Why, me, of course." I opened my mouth so she could see how good my teeth were, like pilot's teeth. "Do you have a license?" she asked. I said, "Details, always details. Dorothy, it's time to let go a little, trust in the unexplained. Time to open your mind to the infinite." By now, my hand was resting on hers, and a small crowd of passengers had gathered around, nodding and patting me on the back. "Good for you, George," said a backpacker with a leather shoelace knotted round his waist. It was biblical. or like the end of a family film during the time of innocence. I said, Dorothy, give me the keys to the cockpit and let's get this baby in the air.
Wow.
That was
Hilarious. That was wonderful.
hilarious. And I really enjoyed the layering message out there. What's the plane? Do you need a pilot? Pilots bail out. So suddenly when you think about it, you can put meanings to this, and that's what the poem. And that's why I love this poem. I thought it was brilliant. At one level, it reads like a nice story. At another level, it reads about a story of life and how you can take risks and things like that. So
Actually, Simon Armitage, I have seen, does that. At one level, his poems just read
read very simply,
very nicely, and then you start realizing the message.
I got another one. Say,
Who is it by?
Simon Armitage.
Ah,
He's the poet laureate for UK.
Right.
Right? I had discovered him in this year of lockdowns. Because I always thought he's not writing poetry, he's writing short stories. But then I figured out, he's brilliant. He's truly
Is that hearing sobbing at 33,000 feet?
33,000 feet.
that's scary.
It's enough to give cold feet to 200 passengers.
And I loved his very details. Stop worrying about it.
Do you have a license? Just details. That's just very detailed. Very nice. Thank you.
Later on, I'll have another one as we go around the second thing.
Sure. Nirja, do you have something for us today?
If it's okay, I'll come later, Cyrus. I just saw one poem briefly. Didn't get time today to really, choose one. But if we have time, I'll just maybe read one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's on the topic though. Yeah. Thank you.
So, Gunika, you're next on my screen.
All right. So I did write something. I've not given the title to a poem since it's Cold Feet, so it's Cold Feet. We spoke about the sun, the moon, the stars. We spoke about the wind in the sky. We talked about the birds and the bees. We spoke about the who's and the whys. We looked into each other's eyes. We held hands under the sand. We felt the warmth of ourselves, flesh to flesh, hand to hand. We spoke about affirmations. We took some mindful oaths to uphold our hearts together and for both. We spoke about sickness and health, to have and to hold. We talked about the highs and lows and about situations untold. We spoke about tiny imperfections that we carry around as rare jewels. We talked of the stars that have healed and how the world could be cruel. We spoke about tender curves and hard edges, the passion with which we love. We saw dreams together and our blessings from above. We looked at each other like there was no tomorrow. We walked the earth together. We gazed at the vast sky aglow. And then we promised to fuse our lives. And at the altar we would meet. I stood waiting with a warm heart, and that's when you got cold feet.
Wow. Wow. That is
That's
beautiful. Yeah, so all of the love
Chilted at the altar, guy. Chilted at the altar.
very nice.
Yes,
And
really
very
nice.
profound. So I like the way you built up all of the non-cold feet parts of it.
Yeah,
And then finally when you
Then
reach
crash.
the altar.
exactly.
Yeah. Very nicely done. Nicely done.
Yes.
Thank you.
I loved the pacing of it. I loved the words. I loved the way you built up the emotions. And it was the end was so unexpected. It was awesome. Really, really awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
Yeah. Nicely done. Thank you, Gunika. Harsh, you're next on my screen. You'll need to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Cyrus. Hi, everyone. Hope you
Hi.
all
Hi,
are
guys.
doing good. Yeah, I have a poem. It is in Hindi. It's called Jogi. So I'll just give you a brief about it. Like it was written way back in 2012. So the poem is about the dilemma we have sometimes to when we look back into our past. It is basically a conversation between past and the present. In this, I have actually the past I have represented with a female character, and the present is with the male character. So they are the past and the present. They are having a conversation, and in the present that is the he part is having the cold feet about everything. So here it goes. So the first line of the poem, first line of every verse, it is basically by the past, and the second line is by the present. रुको, जरा रुको तो, कुछ कहा तुमने क्या? नहीं, कहना क्या? बस मेरे पास रहो. अरे अभी कहाँ है वक्त मेरे पास? मैं कहाँ रुक सकता हूँ? नहीं, रुको तो जरा, कुछ कह तो रुकूं, कुछ कह दो तो रुकूं भी. ये कहना सुनना जरूरी है क्या? हाँ, शायद है तो, सभी तो कहते हैं. अच्छा तो जाओ, मगर क्यों? कुछ कहना था ना तुमको, क्यों कहा रुकने को? नहीं, कुछ भी नहीं. अच्छा चलो रुक ही जाता हूँ, फिर जाने कब वक्त मिले. सुनो वो दिन याद है तुम्हें? कौन सा दिन? जब हम गए थे उस सुंदर से गांव में. हाँ, हाँ याद तो है, मगर कुछ धुंधला धुंधला सा. वहां सब कितना हसीन सा था ना. हाँ, वैसा तो कभी कुछ देखा भी ना था. तो आओ ना, चलते हैं फिर उसी बस्ती में, मैं और तुम. नहीं, अब नहीं जा सकता, काम बहुत है और इतना दूर भी तो है. चलो ना, एक बार फिर से सोचो तो सही, कितना अच्छा होगा सब. हाँ, सोच ही तो सकता हूँ अब. अच्छा, चलता हूँ.
Good. Very.
Very
Thank
nice.
you.
You wrote this one back in 2000 and?
2012.
Wow.
It is basically about the present. In your present, you develop cold feet to revisit the fond memories of your past, to revisit people whom you have loved in the past. So cold feet of getting to love somebody whom you are not in conversation with anymore, but you have feelings for them and you have wonderful memories for them. So I think after what Vinod sir, what he actually said. So I think this is one of the biggest cold feet we developed in our life.
Sure.
It's like I will. There is a Pakistani poet, Munir Niazi. His one of his ghazal is like अक्सर देर कर देता हूँ मैं. So if you guys have time, do watch that on YouTube. I don't remember the whole poem. So, but it is somewhat like that.
Very.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
a
you
lovely
everyone
one.
for listening in.
Very.
Thank you for sharing that, Harsh. It was a lovely poem. All right, Nirja, you're the next on my screen.
Sure, Cyrus. Are we muted?
Yeah, we are.
So, a poem that I had just recently read. I think this should be nice. It's not on the topic though. It's called Going Home, New Orleans by Cheryl Saint Germain for my grandmother, Theresa Frank. Some slow evenings when the light hangs late and stubborn in the sky, gives itself up to darkness slowly and deliberately, slow cloud after slow cloud. Slowness enters me like something familiar, and it feels like going home. It's all there in the disappearing light, all the evenings of slow sky and slow loving, slow boats on sluggish bays, the thick middle trees with the slow sounding names oak, mimosa, pecan, magnolia, the slow tree sap that sticks in your hair when you lie with the trees, and the maple syrup and pancakes and grits, the butter melting slowly into and down the sides like sweat between breasts of slow eyed strippers, and the slow throated blues that floats over the city like fog, and the weeping, the willows, the cut onions, the cane, the slow cooking beans with marrow thick gravy, and all the mint juleps drunk so slowly on all the slow southern porches, the bourbon and sugar and mint going down warm and brown, syrup and slow, and all the ice cubes melting in all the iced teas, all the slow faced people sitting in all the slowly rocking rockers, and the crabs and the shrimp and crawfish, the hard shells slowly and deliberately and lovingly removed, the delicate flesh slowly sucked out of heads and legs and tails, and the slow lips that eat and drink and love and speak that slow, luxurious language, savoring each word like a long missed lover, and the slow moving nuns, the black habits dragging the swollen ground, and the slow river that cradles it all, and the chicory coffee that cuts through it all, slow boiled and black as dirt, and the slow dreams and the slow healing wounds and the slow smoke of it all, slipping out, ballooning into the sky, slow, deliberate, and magnificent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, wow. That is so
Wow.
vivid. Wow.
And
It was
amazing,
interesting. Yeah.
amazingly detailed descriptions of sucking
Yeah.
shellfish out of shells and
Yeah.
Imagery is so good.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
So it just happened actually. A friend's son is currently in New Orleans. He's between his internships and he's there. So we just got talking, and I've never been to New Orleans, but I don't know, somehow the place has always fascinated me because of jazz and whatever one has heard of New Orleans. And so it just got me interested, and I was just googling and looking up some stuff on New Orleans, and then I said, why not look up some poetry, which is from there. And so this just came up, and how you're thinking of home, and she's thinking of home and her grandmother, and then all that imagery. So, and I love food, so wherever there's food always there in poetry is always interesting. So yeah, I like this one. It was nice.
New Orleans, the French Quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've been there. It's not as slow as this poem.
Yeah,
makes
that's what
it out to
Rajiv
be.
actually told me. He says you'll be pretty disappointed. Actually, if you go there, it's not that romantic as you're sort of visualizing it.
There are
to
more
be.
strip clubs than there are jazz clubs nowadays.
all right.
Right.
Thank
Cyrus?
you.
Cyrus,
Yeah.
is it your turn?
I think it's mine. I think everybody else have at the moment got.
Yeah, waiting to hear
Um,
you, Cyrus.
All right. So sometimes we have to apologize for not things that we've done, but things that we didn't do or didn't say because we got cold feet. And this song that I wrote a long time ago is about something like that. It's called Almost 49, An Apology. And with your permission, I'd like to sing that, if I may.
Yeah. Wow, absolutely. We are missing your singing.
I know Jitsi doesn't take um,
Yeah.
instruments very well, but I'll try to post the proper recording of it afterwards on our WhatsApp group.
Thanks.
All right. So, Almost 49, An Apology. You dropped them in their tracks, felled them as if with an axe. Now I realize you did that without trying. It was far, far too late. to save the fallen 48. But I had to stop becoming 49. I'd hate to be your number 49. Saw them falling to the floor. Saw them coming back for more. And I saw them come and stab you from behind. Saw the hatred in their eyes. But it made me realize if I warned you, I'd be branded 49. So the man in the moon turned blind. I never heard you weeping. I never heard you crying. Lord knows I never guessed just how low you were flying. Now I see you're hurt as bad as all those people that you had. And I'd only hurt you more as 49. I couldn't bear to be so unkind.
Good. Cyrus. Very
Cyrus,
good.
lovely.
Lovely. Wish it was longer.
Wow.
We
Very nice.
we missed your singing for some time.
Yes,
Yeah.
after a
Very,
long
very
time, Cyrus has given us a song. Really.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And it's
Good.
really sounded good.
Okay. So I think we can go back for seconds if there's folks who would like to come back with a second song or a second poem, sorry. And
Okay,
Just
I
me?
have one.
sorry, who's
Yeah,
that?
let Rasbir go. Rasbir, would you like to?
Well, I just have scribbled a few. I mean, an idea. Maybe I'll just read. She was drawn in by his demeanor, his intelligence, saw in his eyes the admiration for her. Both developed cold feet, never professed love for each other, never met. Um, sorry. And they killed their blossoming love, and the love story nipped it in the bud. I was just writing something like that, so then I.
Okay, good.
That is nice.
Yeah,
That is nice.
You
indeed.
applied yourself so much to the topic. So yeah, that's good.
So cold feet with blossoming love that didn't blossom is truly cold feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's real cold.
All right. Gunika, you wanted to
Yeah,
share
I
a
found a very nice one, very simple one on Google. I was just browsing through. It's been posted somewhere in 2008 by someone called Sylvie Silva. So this is again about cold feet. It goes like, cold, cold feet. You feel, I always get cold feet in this your roomful society. It's not through lack of courage you'll see. It is odd, because I hail from the tropics, where many rivers flow and the sun bears rainbows. You say, I am not a warm person. In your hamlet, this dwelling new. Just a minute, yeah. Got a call at the wrong time. Okay. You say, I'm not a warm person in your hamlet, this dwelling new. It's not that I don't have a temperate heart, you'll see. It is strange because I left my roots in a place where collective fortitude promises tolerance. Oh, let me draw you into the tropics. For once, fetch your own courage and draw your heart. Saunter in the warm sun. Try a walk with me in fortitude. Together under this roomful sky, let's emit rainbows from our feet, our once strangely cold feet.
Nice. Who was
Yes.
this one guy? Sylvia.
I don't know. It's just maybe some person posted it or just browsing through poems on cold feet and I just came across this. So I guess
Nice.
just someone randomly posted it.
Good. All right.
I got one, Saras. If
Great.
Okay, again by Simon Armitage. In fact, Saras, I recited this to you before the meeting began. But let me repeat it, and especially meant for lyricists and poets. And this one's called Paper Aeroplane. The man sitting next to me on the flight was reading a blank book, keen eyes panning left to right across empty leaves, fingers turning from one white space to the next. Sometimes he would nod agreeably or shake his head, or painstakingly underline some invisible text with red ink or decorate the margin with an exclamation mark or asterisk. It was a hefty looking tome, hand stitched, but wordless front and back and down the spine. Coming into land, he laid the silver ribbon marker between two bare pages to save his space. I was wearing noise cancelling headphones, listening to Fine Mist, when he leaned across and shouted, "Forgive the intrusion, but would you sign this for me? I think it is your best."
Brilliant.
Absolutely brilliant.
What imagery? This guy reading a book with nothing written in it.
And nothing. And in a way, it says a lot about our poems. At the end of the day, do we really have something there?
Sure.
Yeah.
And then the fact that he leans across to the poet and says, "This is your finest work."
Yes, your finest work.
Yeah, and that's Rajiv to come up with this kind. Remember the one, the shortest poem that you had read out?
Yeah. It was. I forget which one. It was Light. LIGHGHT. And the idea was those two words in GH are normally not pronounced. So it's light, and to stress on that GH, he repeated it. So it's like throwing a ripple in a pond. That GH, once you repeat it, suddenly becomes a ripple, and you focus on it. Otherwise, you would not notice it. Light. Okay, you just skip over the G and the H. And the story goes that it was selected as a poem amongst for that year's best American poets, and he got $500 for it.
Wow.
For every poet who was selected got $500, and then the senators. It was a state paid book, and the senators then complained very loudly at it, saying this guy doesn't even know how to spell. And his rejoinder was, "I don't expect a senator from Louisiana to appreciate art." Somebody from Louisiana, one of those southern states, That was interesting. Thank you, Jasveer, for reminding me about that poem.
Wow.
But apparently, that guy went on to, write many such micro poems. I think that there's a genre for this. Many such micro poems, and he became quite famous for it. In fact.
Yeah.
It's always so intriguing, a poet's mind. I mean, imagine what a thought, I mean, who would have thought of it,
I've been doing this course on poetry, English poetry, on my. I mean, it's a formal course, so obviously a lot of pedagogy out there. But one of the things I liked was how he describes a poem. He says a poem is different than prose, just because how and when the sentence ends. That's the difference.
Yeah.
It's a very basic difference. A poet may decide to end the sentence in a quatrain, or just let it go, or just end it after light. While in prose, you have to have a certain structure to it.
Right,
So
right,
I
very true.
enjoyed that definition of poem. Is when to know when to end a sentence, different than a prose.
And that's what every prisoner looks forward to also.
Every
The end of the sentence.
yes.
Yeah.
Special
All right.
skill you have, Cyrus, for
Yes.
coming up with these brilliant puns,
Yes.
Yeah.
Gina, do you have something new to share with us?
No, I'm good. I one poem. I've got it done. Yeah.
And that was wow.
And that was brilliant.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, you must share it on the group. I think we must, everyone should be reading it. We must share it on the group.
Sheena is not in a group, but Sheena, why don't you just post it to me and I'll post it on the group
Okay.
here and the Malaysian group so that
All right.
and see if it inspires our musician to make it
Yes.
do a song on it.
Yes, I will email it to you.
Yeah.
To get warmer feet.
Yes.
Yeah.
To get one of it, yes.
All right. Thank you,
Yeah,
Sheila.
I like to share
Vinodji, go ahead.
that Arjun bit of it. It's about Arjun, who is already in Kurukshetra. He's looking at both the armies. Arjun looked in wonderment, army before and army behind, uncles, brothers, nephews, ready to fight, kill one another. Now Arjun developed cold feet, can't fight. Call it dharma? No, it is killing. Disgusted, Arjun lowered his bow. Arjun, don't be a weakling. Face it like a grown-up. Shoulders drooping, I cannot. It is your duty. Krishna trying to reason with Arjun. Now, this is how Krishna is trying to inculcate some sense of dharma. Now, Krishna says, your wife abused, kingdom encroached. Now fight for justice. Pleaded Krishna. I see no sense in killing my dear family. This is cruelty, not at all nobility. I would have peace, not vengeance. Noble thoughts indeed, said Krishna. Where does the nobility come from? Generosity or fear? Wisdom or ignorance? Confronted by the enormity of the situation, the possibility of failure, the price of success, rather than face the situation, you withdraw. You should be in bliss. Even at this moment, you have developed cold feet. That's it.
Wow, that was wonderful.
True.
Thank you.
Beautiful, sir.
So I'm glad you didn't develop cold feet, Vinodji, and you chose to share that with us. Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you.
that was nice.
So we have Ritika joining in.
Lovely.
Oh,
Lovely.
Ritikas are
Hi,
late.
Ritika.
Hi,
Hello,
Ritika.
Rika.
Hi everyone. Sorry I'm late today, but I'm just
No,
listening.
Very glad you're here, Ritika. We seemed incomplete without you. You're always there.
Yeah. I think this is the first time I wasn't
I'm
actually prepared.
Yeah.
Are you going to? Do you have a poem to share with us, Ritika, today?
Not really, Cyrus. Today I wasn't able to write anything. This is the first time I think I have not written anything.
Okay.
No problem.
Sometimes you have that writer's block, you see.
Oh, I know all about writer's block.
And cold feet.
And,
So it's
and
cold.
The
philosophy.
writer getting cold feet.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Nija, do you have anything?
No, I'm just sort of browsing.
Okay, she's just browsing.
Yeah, if anybody else has
Yeah.
anything.
Okay.
Harsh.
Yeah,
Harsh, do you have
I
something?
I do have a poem. So okay, I won't give a kind of a summary of it. You all can judge it. I'll just read it. When someone gave me an entangled yarn to unwind, when someone gave me an entangled yarn to unwind, I found my hands getting muddled up in between. I couldn't stand that puzzled state and finally gave up. Of the reason that I had to leave as time was my constraint. At once, I left that bundle of confusion with countless knots. But here I was now in my own state of confusion, the life. I was seeing so many knotted yarns in front of my eyes, not of thread, but relationships. In fact, just how can I ever solve them? The yarns of life, of emotions, of relationships I behold. In reality, most of them look nothing like once they were. Not me, but even all of us, I believe, will ever be able to solve these yarns of life. The time will pass away, and all of them will remain stories untold. Well, most of them. Yeah, that's it.
Beautiful. Who's this one by?
Thank you.
Harsh?
This is by me.
This is
This is
absolutely
basically a translation. I'll translate. I'll come up with the Hindi also if you want to hear.
please do.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's called ऊन के गोले. उलझी ऊन थमाई थी किसी ने सुलझाने को. उलझी ऊन थमाई थी किसी ने सुलझाने को. सुलझाने लगे हाथ तो उलझते गए डोर के साथ साथ. उलझी ऊन थमाई थी किसी ने सुलझाने को. सुलझाने लगे हाथ तो उलझते गए डोर के साथ साथ. बड़ी सारी गांठें थी उस गोले में. वक्त भी कम था, सब्र की कमी थी. बड़ी सारी गांठें थी उस गोले में. वक्त हो चला था, सब्र की कमी थी. तो रख वहीं पर उलझा हुआ वो द्वंद. आ पहुंचे उलझे हुए जीवन के कमरे में. तो रख वहीं पर उलझा हुआ वो द्वंद. आ पहुंचे उलझे जीवन के कमरे में. है यहाँ भी तो बड़े सारे गोले उलझे पड़े से. है यहाँ भी बड़े सारे गोले उलझे पड़े से. मगर ऊन के होते तो शायद सुलझाने में दिक्कत ना आती. ये तो उलझे रिश्तों के हैं धागे, जो कोसों दूर हकीकत में हैं आभागे. ये तो उलझे रिश्तों के हैं धागे, जो कोसों दूर हकीकत में हैं आभागे. कहाँ गुत्थी इन गांठों की खुल पाती है. रिश्तों के गोले सुलझाते सुलझाते गोया जिंदगी ही बीत जाती है. गोया मीन्स एज इफ. रिश्तों के गोले सुलझाते सुलझाते गोया जिंदगी ही बीत जाती है. So that was the Hindi part.
Very
And
nice.
so,
Beautiful
Wonderful.
and so true. So
Wonderful.
thank
such
you,
a
Gunika.
reality.
Thank you. Thank you, Gunika.
Very
Beautiful.
nice.
Very nice. I really liked it.
Yes. And
Thank you, Ritika.
the
Thank
English
you.
translation was a poem in itself. It was.
Absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
I
I've
do
heard.
write in English. I do write in English, but I
And it didn't
hesitate
seem like a
to.
translation. It was just a poem by itself, you know.
Yeah,
Like sometimes you can make out a translation. This was complete.
The very
The English,
few.
Yeah.
Go on, Shira.
yeah.
So
yeah,
was this
the English.
originally, was the English the original or the Hindi the original?
The Hindi one was the original one, but then I actually wrote down something. I wrote down a short story. So for that, I needed the poem to be in English. So I'll share it in the group. Maybe I'll share the link in the group.
Please do.
Sheena, you were
Yeah.
saying something?
Yeah, I love the English poem, but somehow in Hindi, the sound of it has more resonance,
Yeah.
and it has this depth. I don't know. It's just the sound of the words that are. Even though I don't even speak Hindi very well, but just the sound of it, it
Mm.
sounds it
Yeah,
flows.
I
It is
understand. Yeah,
really
yeah, I
beautiful.
understand what you're
The
saying.
feelings
Yeah.
and emotions. Yeah.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sheena.
that's right. That's why poetry translates very badly. You know,
Mm.
in fact, we
Yeah.
tried doing that for
And
Asian
never do
tracks.
it on Google, please.
Please.
Oh, yeah.
No,
It's
I have,
horrendous.
I am
Yeah,
the
he
most
knows.
experienced on the Google
He
translation.
knows. He's done it before.
I think you need very skilled translators to be able to
Yeah.
do it. And
Very
I'm
true,
in
very
awe of
true.
I
people
think
who can.
more than skill, you need the sensibilities of a
Yeah.
poet. You know, how do they
Right.
translate across cultures? Poetry is very culturally sensitive. So, in fact,
Yes.
the only two people, Harsh is the second one. The other person who I know translates very well is Chinmay.
Mm.
Chinmay
Yeah,
across.
yeah, of
You know,
course.
he gets the sentiment across. You know, but it's different.
We are missing him today.
You can go ahead and then there's a short one.
Sure.
Having Chinmay, whenever the meetup is, having Chinmay just brought up like Bougainvillea in my mind.
Yes,
Yeah.
he has got a series of 40 or 50 poems, short poems on Bougainvillea. So,
Wow.
so right, so that's how. I mean, I remember the first meetup we had when he came. I think it was our second or third in-person meetup when we started about 3 years ago, and he came in and he, quietly, a quiet guy sitting down in a corner, and suddenly he springs this Bougainvillea poem on us, which is a quatrain. It's like 4 lines, but I tell you, it was brilliant, absolutely brilliant. It became our calling card for some time.
Like in Hindi, we have so many amazing poets. Like Gunika is there, like Anshuman was there. Then I
Gunika's
remember,
poems. I mean, we got
yeah,
we got a lot of talent. Sheena, you joined us.
yeah, Sheena is
Jaspreet, Saris, of
good.
course. That's why I enjoy the year-end anthology of poems which we do. Actually, not anthology; it's a
And
collection.
you know what I've noticed is that each one of us is growing.
It's growing. Yeah,
You can see the difference in your previous poems, and now we are growing with the group because we're getting so much of exposure, the correct exposure, and it's really making us think and challenging us as poets to write better
that's
than
right.
what we were doing
Yeah.
before.
That's right. The love poems are the easiest to write because it springs from the
I
heart.
Really? No.
No,
I would like to say
No.
this, like Raj, just because of I met, I happened to stumble upon this group in February 2019, and when we did this kind of our poetry recitations in Gurgaon at the school, I came
we
up
did.
with one of the most long written poem of mine that day, and it took me 7 days to write it. And that was the first time actually Rajiv actually appreciated me, and it felt
Right,
so
right.
good.
I'm sorry
No,
if
no,
I
I
if I
actually no,
felt
no, no. I mean it in a very positive way that
uh,
I also, just like Ritika pointed out, I also was going through a very bad writer's block on,
right.
especially on the creative side. But DPC actually it have helped me in a big way, and that's why I
Yeah.
somehow I keep coming back to you guys. I keep seeing what you guys are
Yes.
doing, so I always love
Yeah.
hearing to you.
Yeah. And Sheena, actually, the origins of DPC is in Malaysia because
Ah.
Swagata and me started that poetry club. And
Yeah.
then when I came here, I joined a club, and it was all very glamour, glitz and glamour, and you spend money. You're supposed to spend money in a restaurant and things like that. So when that I didn't like that scene. So I decided, okay, this is a poetry lovers club. Not a, but we have some fantastic poets out
Yeah.
here.
No, it's fantastic. You all make me write more, and you make me think
Yes.
more, and it it really, because I don't see myself as a poet. I've never
But
seen myself as a poet, right? And for years, people said to me, write poetry, and I would like, cannot, don't know
yeah,
how, can't do it, you know. So yeah, to find that
yeah, yeah.
is
but
great.
but I think Ritika is right. You grow as a poet
Yeah,
when you are compelled to write a poem for the meetup, and then other people are writing poems, and you listen and you learn, and then you evolve, kind of thing. But
and
Sheena, you did not agree with me when I said love poetry is the easiest poem to write.
no, it's
Roses are
horrible. It's
red.
horrible to write. It's embarrassing. It is like I had this phobia that I'm going to write this love poetry and then I'm going to fall out of love with this person. And one day they're going to come and pick it up and wave it in my face, and I'm going to go, "Oh my God, really? Why? Did you do that about you know?" So yeah,
But one of the nicest presents you can give a lady or your partner is actually a poem written for him or her.
that is true.
It's a poem for you. I mean, it costs much more than money. Somebody to sit down and write and invest the time and quality time, not 1 hour. It has to be quality time.
But
I,
a lot of love poetries which I have read, they're pretty cheesy.
yes,
I don't know.
that's the problem.
That yes. So I'm not a great fan of it. That those feelings
Yes.
don't come out. They're pretty cheesy. I mean, take
They're,
care. It's
they're, they're
there.
quite
Yeah.
easy. So, okay, with that sentiment, let me recite a non cheesy love
Yeah.
poem.
Please.
Definitely non cheesy. And it's called An Accommodation. Uh, Dash and I, so the woman's name is missing. Dash and I both agreed that something had to change. But I was still stunned and not a little hurt when I staggered home one evening to find she had draped a net curtain slap down the middle of our house. She said, "I'm over here and you're over there, and from now on, that's how it's gonna be." It was a small house, not much more than a single room, which made one or two practical problems. Like the fridge was on my side and the oven was on hers, and she had the bed while I slept fully clothed in an inflatable chair. Also, there was a Husker Du CD on her half of the border, which I wouldn't have mind hearing again for old time's sake, and her winter coat stayed hanging on the door in my domain. But the net was the net, and we didn't so much as pass a single word through its sacred veil, let alone send a hand crawling underneath it, or God forbid, yank it aside and go marching across the line. Some nights she would bring men back, deadbeats, incompatible, not fit to kiss the heel of a shoe. But it couldn't have been easy for her either, watching me mooch about like a ghost, seeing me crashing around in empty bottles and cans. And there are good times too, sitting side by side on the old settee, the curtain between us, the TV in her sector, but angled towards me, taking me into account. Over the years, the moths moved in, got a taste for the net, and so it came to resemble a giant web, like a thing made of actual holes strung together by fine nervous threads. And there it remained, and remains to this day, this tattered shroud, this ravaged lace suspended between our lives, keeping us inseparable and betrothed.
That's
How's
a
that
very,
for a non-cheesy
very
poem?
practical poem, I must say. It's a very
Yes.
practical poem.
Inseparable
Yeah.
and betrothed.
And betrothed. So how's that for a non-cheesy poem? I love poem.
Can I
I
can
mean,
I do a can I do a cheesy love a non cheesy love poem as well? This is one of my favorites, and someone I was going out with actually sent it to me, and I was so annoyed at first, and then after that I just thought, yeah, he said this is you. He said this poem was me. So it's called Pat. It's by John Higley, and I think some of you might know it, but here it goes. I said, Pat, you are fat. and you are cataclysmically desirable. And to think I used to think slim was where it's at. Well, not anymore, Pat. You've changed that. You love yourself, you flatter yourself, you shatter their narrow image of the erotic. And Pat said, "What do you mean, fat?"
Yeah. Yes.
Lovely, lovely.
Good,
Lovely.
good,
That was a beautiful poem.
good, good.
Yeah,
You don't have a cold feet now.
Interesting poem. Actually, it probably goes with the occasion. You know?
Yes.
You know, it probably pair well with the occasion and the wine. So,
Yes.
Thankfully, there was no whack coming out.
yeah, yeah, it could have ended in a whack rather than.
That's right.
Yeah.
Or rather, a pat on the back.
Yeah.
Nice one. Good.
Good one.
Very nice.
Good one, Sheila. Lovely. By the way,
Neerja, do you have something you wanted to share?
Yeah, something on the same lines actually.
People, just to let you know that we are live on YouTube and we have got an audience on YouTube.
Oh,
So, yeah,
Wow.
small audience, but it's out there. So welcome people. And then they appreciated some poems. So they have put the comments on. And you know, Simrat, Manisha is there, by the way, and Bhavna, our. Thank you, folks. Thank you for appreciating us.
All right.
Back to you, Cyrus.
Neerja, go ahead.
Yeah, so, right. So this is called Hickory Street, New Orleans by Jonah Harvey. Like the last thing I said to you was, let's buy a duplex. Like you live on your side and I live on my side. And you'll rise when you rise and I'll rise when I rise. And I said something like, let's divide these hurts and regrets. And you get a stack and I get a stack. And you walk a block and I walk a block. And you get a poodle and I get a pug. And you stub a toe and I twist an ankle. And you get a wheelbarrow and I get chickens glazed with rain. And you interrupt and I intercept. And you call the congressman and I call the mayor. And you blow a trumpet and I smash a tuba or maybe seal off all sound, sheltering the shuddering of the heart compressed. The high-pitched operas of trolley wheels breaking at the edge of midnight where magnolias shelter the stoplights, and left-footed lovers drunk on bayonets and champagne kisses, and maybe struck by the distant drift of a giant sea turtle floating toward a green wave in a tacky, overpriced painting, and somehow they are safe. The couple is safe, and there's no parade stills that will break, no stars that will bend. There's just an orchid tucked behind an ear, and ours blurs together. And I said something like, and you said, and I said, remember? So it just reminded me of the poem that,
Wow.
the
It was
non-romantic, again in the same genre.
yeah, but it's
interesting.
close to being cheesy.
Wow.
It was close to being
Yeah.
bordering on
But
cheesy.
this again came up when I was doing my New Orleans research, So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we should do a jazz session one day, Cyrus.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah. Just listen to jazz music on a good share a few jazz songs. That's not a bad idea, Cyrus.
That would be lovely, John. It'll be a treat.
Sounds good.
Sort of everybody gets his favorite jazz song and plays it, and we listen to it, and whoever wants to sing can sing it, and otherwise we can just share the jazz songs. Interesting idea. I'll float it in our coordinators group and see how we
And
can
of
make
course,
it
Cyrus
happen.
will sing. I'm sure.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was hoping he would sing. Definitely.
Actually, those points in the group that we get to hear so many lovely songs in the from you, Cyrus. So it's like it just become a matter of routine for us now that you were so used to hearing a couple of them every week, and it's such a privilege.
Yeah. Can I then just say that your poem, Neerja, the last words of your poem,
Right.
remember. Yeah? Do you remember? Reminded me of another song that I wrote, which kind of goes with today's theme of cold feet. This was written back when I was about to pass out of uh, college, and it's a song called Crossroads. Is this the time? Um it's it was it's about through the 4 years of the fifth year of college. Up to the fifth year of college, you were always hoping you'd finally pass and leave these hallowed portals. And then when the time actually comes and you're going to leave all your friends behind and um, all of that, and you suddenly get cold feet. So, with your permission, I'd like to share that song.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Choices stare me in the face, and I don't know what to choose. So many ways to run this race, so many ways to lose. We're all looking for the answers. We're all trying to find our way. Though my mind is set on leaving, my heart still wants to stay. So, is this the time I've waited for? Can this be all, or is there more? Is this the time? Must I pass through that door? Is this the time I've waited for? Now my life's summers turn to fall. And will there be no tears at all? Will I be missed? Will you even know I've gone? Will I be just one more passer on? Is this the time for parting songs? We've known each other for so long. Are you gonna cry or are you gonna be strong? Do we say goodbye or just so long? And do you remember atom bombs and toilet doors and smoldering knees and plans of floors and dotting trees and sleepless nights and falling in love and unmade beds, and that's enough to make me cry, because I find that I'm too young for memories, even these, even these. Do you remember? Do you remember? Do you remember? Do you remember?
Oh,
Wow,
that
wow. one.
So
Cyrus.
good.
Beautiful.
Good one.
Cyrus, easily one of your best songs.
Yes,
I
easily one of your
really
best.
loved it.
Very nice.
One of your best songs.
Beautiful.
Lovely,
Yes.
Yeah,
lovely.
brilliant, Cyrus. Thank God
Straight
I
from
didn't
the
miss this
heart.
part of the session.
Yeah.
I just lost track of time. I thought I was somewhere else. Like,
So straight from the heart. Yeah.
wow, you took me to another world. Right?
Lovely, lovely.
And I realized, that this song, for me at least, it works not only at that crossroad which I was at, whatever 40 years ago, but I guess even at crossroads that you face as you grow older. And for me, it still resonates. This song. So
I was
thank you all
going to
for your
say this- I was
appreciation.
going to say the same thing, Cyrus. It resonated because there have been moments in each of our lives where you're looking back and sort of you're going to miss something and you're moving on. So yeah, it's really resonated. Lovely,
Lovely.
beautifully
Thank
sung.
Thank you. All right. Does anybody else have a last poem that you'd like to pull out of a back pocket?
Yes, the back pocket poem. I must write a poem on the back pocket poem.
Yeah. Rajiv, do you have a back pocket poem then?
Hey, don't tempt me. I always have one.
He's sitting with his iPad, so he can always,
Well,
Go
I've
for
been
it.
enjoying.
Go for it, Rajiv.
I mean, love is getting cheesy, out here, and remembering and memories and things like that.
It just
So
took a lovely turn, Yeah, I know. From
I
cold
know.
feet to
Okay, so here's a cheesy love poem. Love, and it's called. I mean, there's nothing more cheesy than this. I'll be there to love and comfort you, but it's surprisingly dark. So let's see how it goes. The couple next door were testing the structural fabric of the house with their difference of opinion. I can't take much more of this, I said to Mimi, my wife. Right then there was an almighty crash as if every pan in the kitchen had clattered to the tile floor. Mimi said, try to relax. Take one of your tablets. She brewed a pot of chamomile tea and we retired to bed. But the pounding and the counterwheeling carried on right into the small hours. I was dreaming that the mother of all asteroids was locked in a collision course with planet Earth, when unbelievably a fist came thumping through the bedroom wall just above the headboard. In the metallic light of the full moon, I saw the bloody knuckles and the cobweb tattoo on the flap of skin between finger and thumb before the fist withdrew. Mimi's face was powdered with dirt and dust, and she didn't wink. She looked like a corpse pulled from the rubble of an earthquake after 5 days in a faraway country famous only for its paper kites. I peered through the hole in the wall. It was dark on the other side, with just occasional flashes of purple or green light, like those weird electrically powered life forms zipping around in the ocean depths. There was a rustling noise, like something stirring in the nest of straw, and then a voice. A voice no bigger than a sixpence, crying for help. Now Mimi was right next to me. It is her, she said. I said, don't be crazy, Mimi. She would be 24 by now. It's her, I tell you. Get her back. Do you hear me? Get her back. I rolled up a pajama sleeve and pushed my arm into the hole, first to my elbow, then as far as my shoulder and neck. The air beyond was clammy and damp, as if I had reached into the 19th century London street in a late November fog, rolling in up the river, a cuff in a doorway. Mimi was out of her mind by now. My right cheek and my ear were flat to the wall. Slowly but slowly, I opened my fist to the unknown. And out of the void, slowly but slowly, it came. The pulsing starfish of a child's hand, swimming and coming to settle on my upturned palm. Thank you.
Ooh,
That
that's
was,
scary.
yes.
That is scary.
That's scary, and It's love in.
Bring me the goosebumps.
I know. It's love at another dimension.
Yeah.
The suspense was building up, and then like it was like
Yeah.
Yeah.
It started so differently,
And
started so
especially if you've lost a child,
Yeah.
ever,
It's
it can be
about
quite.
it's about a child 24 years back.
Yes. Yes. So it can be quite.
Very nice.
Yeah. So I said, it started off as a cheesy poem, but ended up like very
Yeah,
interesting
no,
poem.
it was not cheesy at all. I thought it was
Yes, it was
brilliant.
not cheesy at all. Yes, it was not cheesy at all.
Yeah.
Just the title was cheesy.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Anyone else with the final? I think we need to wrap up shortly.
Yeah, we have to wrap up. It's late. Sheena's sleeping.
All right. All
Are you
right.
gonna-
There's time for one more in case somebody has something that we'd like to share. Anyone else? All right.
I
All right.
have a request. Can I I'd like to make a request to Vinodji. Would you mind if I took a stab at stealing your idea of the cold feet at the battle between Arjuna and Krishna?
It's
Go ahead.
Arjuna and Krishna is nobody's copyright.
I know, but the idea came from here, so I thought I should
The
ask.
idea is,
We'd love to hear what you have to say.
Look for
But that is the biggest cold feat in the history. Yeah. Because you are standing there and you're just not ready to fight at all.
Okay,
So,
I think we have to wrap up now. Thank you everyone for a lovely, lovely session.
Thank you.
On cold feet.
Thank you, Cyrus.
thank you everyone.
This
Okay.
turned out to be so good. I mean,
Yeah.
a small group, but so wonderful, no?
yeah, I always
So
found
much
out
fun.
smaller groups work better, but we don't mind 10, 15 people. We have had those too.
Yeah.
All right.
But we still clock
Alright.
1.5 hours, so it's fine.
Yeah, we still clock 1.5.
Thank you for the song, Cyrus.
Thank you for hosting. Thank you for hosting.
Thank you,
you for
Cyrus. Had a
hosting,
wonderful
Cyrus,
evening.
thank you for hosting.
Bye-bye.
And thank you everybody.
for your wonderful
Okay,
poems and
bye-bye.
contributions. Thanks.
Bye,
Good night.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye,
Good night,
everyone.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye,
Bye.
Vinodji, Cyrus,
Bye.
Monica,
Bye,
Jyotina,
everyone.
Jaspreet, Ritika. Bye, bye. And Neerja,
Bye.
ma'am. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Sure.